Welcome to the release presentation for SORMAS version 1.102, which is the latest version that we have officially released in the end of June, so already a couple of weeks ago. And this meeting will mostly focus on the new features that we have in the system to give you an overview what's new, what we have added, how you could, for example, also profit from updating to the latest version. Just in case, if there are any questions, then please feel free to put them in the chat, and then we will have a Q&A session after the presentation has concluded, where we can go through all the information that you're interested in, and also give you an overview about what's to come in the future. For those who do not know me yet, I don't think there is anybody. We have all met at one point. My name is Böhme. I'm one of the managing directors of the SORMAS Foundation, responsible for our technology and operation. And I will be doing the system presentation today with my colleague Obinna, who is also here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Obinna Henry. I am a software developer with the SORMAS Foundation. Happy to meet you all.
Perfect. And with that, let's jump right in. So for the timeline, we have allocated about 30 minutes for the presentation, and then there will also be around 30 minutes for the Q&A session. Okay, so you should now be able to see my screen. This is the official demo system that is available at demo.sormas.org, where you can all log in and see the latest features for yourself. At first, let me begin with the addition of 2 new infectious diseases that we now have in SORMAS, which is invasive meningococcal infection and invasive pneumococcal infection, or how I like to call them in short, IPI and IMI, so that I don't have to try to pronounce the whole name correctly all the time. So we have created 2 example cases here, one for IPI and one for IMI. This will probably look very familiar to you. This is the standard case investigation form, where you can enter all the information in the same way that you are used to. You can create tasks, samples, immunizations, like everything else. And yeah, also the other tabs should probably look very familiar. And there's a specific symptom tab, in that case, specifically for IPI. And the same goes for IMI. And also for IMI, contact tracing is activated, so you also have the contacts tab over here. And yeah, those are the 2 new diseases that can now be tracked and managed in SORMAS. The next feature that I would like to go into is the new geographical analysis dashboard that we have added to the system. Thanks to Obinna, he was mainly working on this. You are now able to not only take a look at all the data on the map directly in the different dashboards, but with the geographical analysis dashboard that you can find in the top right, you are now able to overlay all the information in the system with each other to directly see related, for example, cases or contacts on the map without having to switch between multiple dashboards. So, of course, like always, you can use the filters, like you can do for every other dashboard, but then in the bottom right, you will find this layers button that you can click, and then you can just switch on and off different layers. For example, in this case, by default, it is showing the cases. You can switch those off. We can switch between the home address of the patient, or for example, the facility, so that you can see if there are, for example, specific clusters in facilities. And in addition to that, let me switch back to facility or home address. You can now start to overlay other things. For example, you can see the contacts on the same map as the cases directly. And the same goes for samples. we now have the environmental samples. We will go into a little bit more detail and that in a couple of minutes when I show you the new One Health features that we have added. Event participant samples as well, contact samples and case samples, and all of those can be mixed and matched directly on the same map. So you're able to really dive into the details where, for example, there are specific relationships between things. And of course, you're also able to switch between the sex of the different cases. So for example, if you're only interested in female cases, you can just do that. And then you will only see female cases or contacts on the map. The same goes for male cases. You can also show the adverse effects, which you can track in the adverse effects module in SORMAS. We will not go into detail about that in this meeting, but there is a recording of the adverse events following immunizations module that was moderated by Obinna on our YouTube channel. So if you're interested in learning more about the IFE module, then you can go there and rewatch the webinar from about a year ago. Okay, and now let's go into the new One Health features that we have. So if we take a look at the map, let me switch on a couple of more layers so that you can see a little bit more. We'll see that over here around that lake, there is a cluster of multiple cases and also multiple samples that have been taken. This is for an example case that I would now like to guide you through how SORMAS can be used to combine environmental surveillance as well as case-based surveillance to see if there are any relationships between each other and enhance the One Health capabilities that we have in the system. So in that case, let's assume that there has been an event that has been registered in SORMAS. For example, a school has reported that there is an unusually high rate of absent children. In that case, you would have the event in SORMAS, like you know it. And from here, you could start to investigate. And in this fictional case that we have created here, for example, the investigation would have brought up that there has been a school field trip to a specific lake. So there's another event which is linked to the initial event, and we can take a look at that. Then we can also see the event participants here. So which of the children in that case have been participating in that school trip. And this is also linked, and this is the first new thing that we have in the system. This is linked to a specific environment, in that case, the lake that you have seen on the map. So you're able to directly connect all the dots directly in SORMAS. If we take a look at the lake, this is the environmental module. Probably you already have seen that as well, but let me very quickly guide you through it because it's very relevant for what I'm showing you right now. In SORMAS, with the environmental module, you can create what we call environments. And this could basically be everything that is somehow in regard to environmental health. This could be lakes, rivers, maybe, for example, pastures where livestock is grazing. This can be water outlet pipes, sewage treatment plants, basically whatever you want it to be. And in that case, we have created the lake, which is then connected to the events. And there are different environmental samples that you can also collect and track directly in SORMAS, where you can see if there's maybe something going on with that environment. In this case, the environmental samples have been taken and they have been tested for E. coli bacteria in our fictional case, and this came back positive. So if we now go back to the event, we can track the information that there are E. coli bacteria in that lake for some reason. And by further investigating, we have found out in this scenario that there has been a leakage in a water treatment plant that is nearby the lake. And this is once again also connected to a specific environment, which in this case is the water treatment plant outlet pipe that goes into the lake that normally should only contain clean water that is put back into the lake. But in that case, there has been a leakage. So this is why E. coli bacteria have been introduced to the lake, which then in turn affected the children that have been on the school trip and have been in contact with the water. And that's how you're able to connect the two areas of human and environmental health directly in SORMAS, further contributing to the One Health approach. And the animal health, this is something that we are still working on, but yeah, keep an eye out on that. So this is the next big step that we want to have, and to really be able to connect every 3 different sections of One Health in SORMAS. Okay, and with that being said, let's talk a little bit about interoperability with other systems. For this, I need to switch to another system. This is another test system that is connected to a laboratory information system, as well as a self-report system. And the new feature that I would like to show you, lab messages is very old news, that SORMAS is able to connect to laboratory information systems, and then you are able to receive lab messages and process them directly in SORMAS. But we now have added the doctor's declaration or physician's report as another type of external message that can come in through SORMAS. You will see them in the message directory, just like the lab messages. You can check everything. For example, open the physician's report, and then you will see the actual content that's in here. You can check it, and if everything is fine, then you can process the physician's report directly through SORMAS. It basically works very similar to the lab message system that we have. So in that case, you can select if you want to create a new case, contact, or event participant, and the system will also inform you if there are potential duplicates, where you can then select if you want to keep the duplicate or maybe create a new person. Just like lab messages, you will see everything on the left side, and then already filled in information on the right side. You can double check everything, and if everything is fine, you will just be able to save the case. And now you have created a case directly out of an incoming physician's report. And if we, for example, now go to the case that resulted from this, you will see in the top right, this is also a new box that will show up when the doctor's declaration feature is activated in the system. You will see this notified by box that exactly shows you where the notification comes from. In that case, for example, it was notified by Xavier. This is the ID number, the date of notification, and here is an information that this came from an external source. And you can also click on notification, then you will be able to see the original notification that came in to SORMAS.
So from this release, we started the journey to simplify SORMAS system administration and server administration as well. Prior to now, if you wanted to do some types of configuration, you needed a server administrator, which is someone who has backend access to the SORMAS installation server, and who also further has backend access to the database itself to be able to run some scripts. Yes, we did provide the scripts to run as examples on our documentation website, but that was still a very big challenge, because sometimes after running these scripts, you have to reboot the server for it to take effect. So starting with this release, we started with the most critical system administration and configuration options. One of it is disease configuration, and the other is system configuration. So I'll quickly show you that. Once you log into SORMAS as an administrator, which is a user in SORMAS who has administrative rights, you go to configuration. Now are 2 new menu options or tabs. You can see disease configuration and system configuration. So for disease configuration, you click this navigation link. So now you are able to disable or activate new diseases. So if you needed SORMAS for just 2 diseases, SORMAS is installed with default, a certain number of default diseases for case surveillance. And before, if you needed to disable some diseases, like I mentioned earlier, you needed to go to the backend, run some scripts, and restart the server. But from this release, you can do that very easily from the user interface. So let's take, for example, let's say we want to disable anthrax, for example. So you just click this button, and then you are able to choose some of these several options. To get more information about what these options mean, if you go to the Foundation's wiki, I will paste the link in the URL in the chat. If you scroll down, you will find a link for disease configuration admin interface. And then you'll be able to find details of what the variables, what they mean. So, but just to simplify some things a bit, for example, if you disable active, then anthrax will no longer show as a disease at all in SORMAS. So the active parameter disables or enables a disease in the whole system, okay? The primary determines whether you can select this disease for cases and contacts. If you for case surveillance parameter allows you to choose whether for related records that have to do with cases or contacts like events, pathogen testing, whether this disease can be selected in the drop down as well. So if you disable anthrax, for example, and save it, then if you went to cases and do new case, you will not be able to find anthrax anymore. Okay, but if I went back and enabled it, go back to cases. Now anthrax shows up for surveillance. So it's very easy and simple to now just manage the different aspects of disease configuration. Just one more thing, the same configuration allows you to configure age groups for aggregate reporting. So just to show you how to do that, you just click this button, and then you are able to specify different age groups. Okay, for aggregate reporting, you could say from 3 months to, let's say, 5 months. Of course, you cannot choose an incorrect order. You could not, for example, say 3 months to 5 days. Then it will give you a problem. It will tell you that this is not the right order. So it has to be properly configured. If you want to remove, you just click this button or this button. Just as simple as that. Now, the next feature I would like to show us is system configuration. Now, this prior to now, if you needed to do some server configuration for SORMAS shipped with what we call SORMAS.properties file. So you had to manually edit that document and then reboot the server for certain things to take effect. So from this release, we have started to gradually migrate some of the parameters. Hopefully all the parameters will be migrated. So it's easy for you to now come here and select a parameter and then configure the value and save it. And then no need to restart or reboot the server, and everything will take effect. This is thanks to our colleagues, Rahul and Kanaya, and everyone that contributed to this. I think that will be all from my side. Over to you, Jan.
Thank you very much. Yeah, with that, we are already at the end of the feature presentation, but I would like to take a couple of minutes to, of course, thank our partners that are the reason why we are even able to do this, as well as, of course, the whole team of the SORMAS Foundation, who have been working hard the last couple of months to deliver those new features. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, with that being said, I would then go into the question and answer section of the presentation. If you would like to know anything more, if you would like us to show something in more detail, then please feel free to either use the microphone and just ask the question directly, or you can use the chat if you would like to ask a question.
Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. Yeah, I just wanted to ask regarding the environmental module. Is there a plan to have, like participants of what you would call the fallout of what has happened in an environment? For example, similar to what we have with the event-based management side of the system, right? Is there a plan to work that in so that if we say, for example, we've tested a sample from a lakeside and we found it contaminated, are we able to then say there are persons who have been involved, maybe drinking the water, using it for other purposes, who have now come down, that we're able to link to that episource and then find a way to enter into the system, convert them to case-based, you see? Is that possible at the moment, or it's a part of the plan? Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. That's a great question. So it is not part of the environmental module right now, but through this new feature that we have where we can link environments and events, the way to do it would be to create an event, for example, for that situation where something happened, then link the environment to it and use the event participant feature as you're used to track the people who are affected by anything regarding the environment. And then from there, you can do the investigation and create cases as required. That would be the workflow right now. So the environmental module focuses more on the environment entity and tasks that are being performed. For example, taking samples, maybe catching vectors that are in the environment, or spraying specific pesticides, things like that. And then you would link that to the events module, and that's the link between human and environmental, and then you can go from there. But it is possible, yeah.
Great, awesome, thanks. Yeah, I see the link event button is there. Works perfect. Thanks.
Great, thanks.